Hello, everyone. I'm Ayikaile Davy, financial power coach. I help ambitious women to just master the 2.4 to $10 million or more we receive in a lifetime. Thank you, Aisha, for inviting me on for your awesome presentation today on diversity, equity, inclusion. I'm so fortunate to be able to share today about wealth and wellness. Why a lack of self-care is destroying wealth. And what we look at when it comes to our finances, a lot of the times are the dollars and cents. So my goal for us today is to pull back the curtain and take a look at what goes on behind the scenes and where we should really draw our motivation and inspiration for improving our financial well-being. So I'm going to put a context out there for us to look at the presentation today. So you see here financial to the left, and then we're going to move to the right where you see pain and suffering. So think of a law settlement where, let's say, there are damages that are going to be assessed. So what I've done today is really just wanting us to look at the cost of holding on to money problems. And not only for 1 year, but 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and even generations, right? And I want to share when I work with women and businesses to transform their finances, I'll share what the difference I see in those who correct it and turn it all around and those who stay stuck. So when you look here, the first column of financial. So there's a dollar amount there where I have a negative $4,000. And yes, that's the material amount of money, right? $4,000. Now, when someone's in a position where they're not even able to save, let's say, $4,000 a year, there are consequences to that. What I'd like to share, though, is the people that I see that make the biggest shift in their finances and go from a place of just not having 4,000 to being able to save is they don't focus on the 4,000. When you look at the second column of pain, yes, they're experiencing late payments, late fees, and collections because they don't have a cushion of savings. They're not able to invest. They get into more debt when surprises come up because what happens? You need to take an emergency trip somewhere or pay for an unanticipated medical expense. And what do? You end up charging it on a credit card if you don't have a cushion of savings. So when you're looking at that negative 4,000 of non-savings in a year, that turns into adding on 700 in late fees, adding 2,500. And what I did here is really just use a reasonable and conservative amount for what it costs in each of these areas. So after you charge your credit card with the surprise expense, of course, you're going to get hit with high interest payments as you pay down that debt. And on the extreme end of things, we know that divorce in marital circumstances ends up being the top reason for people to separate or dissolve their marriage. Finances are a big component and people not being able to relate and being on the same page in marriages and partnerships. Then there's the cost of bankruptcy, foreclosure, repossession. And when you really get pulled up, pinned against the wall, having to bail yourself out of a financial circumstance just because of the accumulation of not having that cushion of savings to begin with. And so when individuals come to me and they talk about, yes, how can I save more? And they're looking for some quick, 5 tips to learn how to save more. I really get cues on them not really being ready, because if they're just having a conversation about, oh, I just feel like I should save more, I know that we're not there yet. And the difference is when I see and work with individuals who do turn it around, they get into the pain. And even more, they get into the suffering of holding on to that money problem, of not having a cushion of savings, for example. So when we're looking at the suffering, and yes, you have the component of financial, the money part, but there is that component of suffering where if you really started to assess a dollar amount to it, it way exceeds the amount that you're even, losing out on the savings. So coping, comfort food, wine, retail therapy, putting on pounds and gaining weight because you're stressed out financially. That has a $5,000 price tag or more, right? Then when you get into living with money fears, having anxiety, stress, loss of connections in your personal relationships, that can exceed 10,000 or more if you really were to assess and put a dollar amount to it. But when we work just on the surface and deal with just the numbers, we're not getting to our lifestyle. And what I see in terms of self-care and finances, this is the driver. When we start to value our health more, our mental health, our physical health, and we end up putting our foot down and saying, enough is enough. I'm no longer going to allow myself to be stressed out. I'm no longer going to allow myself to beat myself up because I'm not getting it. And you get prompted to take action. That's when your real self-advocacy about your own self-care is the driver to turning your finances around. So it's no longer just about getting $4,000 of cushion of savings in the bank. It's about, no, I want to be connected with my husband or partner. No, I don't want to be fighting over money with my family if a loved one passes. It's about solving that. And that's where self-care can really be the key to your focus and letting that be what drives you to overcoming your problems financially. And so on one side, this is a conservative estimate of about $50,000 of loss, where you look on the surface, you say, I thought it was just 4,000, but no, it's about $50,000 of annual loss potentially when someone doesn't have their finances in order. And I will say, it ends up being a negative spiral downward, where it's that one person, that one family, but then it ripples out to being that generation. And that's how the downward spiral continues. Now, on the flip side, and you can shift the slide for me, thank you. When I notice individuals turning it around, this is what they can look forward to, and this is what they claim for themselves. So on the outset, they start out where they have a positive 5,000 in savings in a year. But that's not all. They go over to joy. And instead of experiencing pain, they now can experience joy and have thriving paychecks, have confidence in their financial decision making, which is a value, if we put a number to it, worth 2,500 or even more, right? Or buffer when surprises come up, so they're no longer digging themselves deeper and deeper into debt, no longer having to pay late fees, bank fees, and all the fees that come with being in debt, no longer having to worry about the threat of bankruptcy or foreclosure or repossession because they have a nice plush cushion of savings built up over time. And they get to leverage their capital. The whole purpose of money is to capture opportunity and also to add, to the finer things in life when we want to. And a person in a position where they have their finances and are experiencing joy is in a more expansive state, is able to do more and be more for themselves and their family and their community and ultimately the world. And so this elusive term, or this term that gets thrown out about prosperity, is the culmination of it all. It's when you have the financial peace of mind, your ease and flow in capturing opportunities is worth at least 3,000 or more, right? Then you get expanded choices. You get to nurture your personal connections and just really build that legacy development that we all strive and talk about striving for. So instead of living that downward spiral, now you're creating an upward spiral for yourself, your family, your community. And you get to travel, have hobbies that you get to pay attention to that you may have put off, right? And do those bucket list adventures and just invite abundance. That's at least $20,000 of value or more. So when you put it all together and you look at the last screen and this screen, an individual who was living on that last screen is losing 50,000, but not only that, they're losing out on that potential 50,000 in joy and peace and prosperity as well. So where are you? I want to check in with you. If you're at a point where you find yourself even just feeling like you're trying to survive, you don't have 3 months of savings, you feel like you're drowning in debt, or you've gotten those things in place, but you still don't feel like you're in doing as much as you can and reaching your capability. Here are some questions that can help you check in and make a decision. Are you going to strive to do more and get help, or stay stuck? And those decisions are always there for us. So, are you fed up with losing money and jeopardizing your well-being? And are you ready to secure prosperity and your ideal lifestyle? Why is it compelling for you to fix your finances? Are you ready to put yourself first and prioritize your own self-care so that you have that driver beyond the dollars and cents, and it really being about preserving and protecting your well-being? Have you decided to claim your best well-being and your best finances? And are you ready? If so, get help and do what it takes to make it happen. What I want to leave you with is this. Everyone tuning in today is representing a dynasty, right? So I'm a part of the Davy dynasty, and everyone else just fill in the blank with your last name. The torch has been passed to us, and it's about what we do with it. The census does a work-life study and says that individuals who have a bachelor's degree expect to earn 2.4 to $10 million or more in their lifetime. So yes, we get bombarded by the negative statistics about finances and certain communities, right? But here's an opportunity to focus on the resources you do have, what you can work with. Look at your parents. Are you at least on par to exceed where your parents have been, or your caregivers, right? Start there. You have the power. Money management is not genetic. It's not based on talent. All it is our learned mindset and patterns of behaviors. And once you accept that and know that it's not too late, you too can claim financial prosperity, joy, and peace for yourself. So I hope that provides some value in serving you today. And just know that I am cheering for you wherever you are on your financial journey. So let's do it. And thank you so much, Aisha, for having me on today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ayikaile. For those who don't know, Ayikaile and I go way, way back, and she has always been just kind of this financial coach for me and for so many other people. I think when we talk about DEI, and of course, I've been talking about inclusive leadership. Many times we think of the leader is the one talking to others, but the others also need to empower themselves. And so we need to empower ourselves. And that's the information you're basically sharing with us today, Ayikaile. So I know you talked about on this slide, making the decision to finally take the reins and really be responsible for our financial health and wealth. But what is one thing that we can do just on a small scale to start thinking about saving towards wealth in the future? Because again, I think some of the stressors that we have as marginalized folks or people of a marginalized community feel we have to work for the rest of our lives, and that creates our own stress. So how do we begin to build our own little financial wealthy world, on the side if we're working for a company as well?
Right, right. What I've seen for the individuals that make that decision to do something is it takes making it a priority and actually seeking out help, because what I found is if you've struggled with your finances for decades, it's probably not going to be an ebook solution or a Google solution. So working with a professional such as myself and reaching out to be coached and to be able to get out of your own way with the support, the accountability of a professional is really where I see, cutting down the time and effort and, don't try to figure it out by yourself. I strongly believe, Aisha, that we're living in the best time ever, really in the best place ever, like in the history of the world. And we're all just like one person away from solving our biggest problem, right? Because think about it, like someone has spent their life and their work in life, their passion is to solve the one problem you struggle with. So I really think individuals need to just find that person who is the answer to solving and helping them solve their problem. And just coming to it with the commitment, the determination to do what it takes, above like the top 10 tips to get out of debt. Because what I will say is that doesn't work, and I haven't seen that work. So it's about going deeper, prioritizing your own well-being, and operating from that place of wanting to make an impact and knowing that what you do and what you don't do make an impact equally in the world. So I'm hoping that's helpful.